Okay, there we go. Polsaar a little bit delayed, but that's fine. This game's on in-game timer. Loads are probably going to differ between these guys, so even if it runs even, it'll probably differ a little bit anyway. Okay. So yeah, but currently, since Fuff has the RTA lead, I'll just go ahead and talk about him. So, real quick, first level is super simple. Oh, I missed the guy. That can be a little annoying if he manages to get away, because you want to make that hat during the cutscene that plays after you knock him out. Whenever you make hats in this game, you aren't able to move while the little cutscene plays. And
as you can also see, Polsaar and Fuff, they run around a fountain and grabbed 5 little green things. Those are the currency, and you get those, so you can go into the 3rd level earlier than you regularly would, and so it speeds up the 2nd level.
Yeah, it's basically for the same reason with the hats thing I was talking about. I don't know if Fuff will do it, but there is a new little tech that's been found with making hats. That cutscene that I was talking about, where you play it on top of another cutscene just so that you don't have to like stand still and wait there. The cutscenes in this game, thankfully, the devs added in an option called auto skip cutscenes, which gets rid of most of the cutscenes that normally play in the game, like the level intro cutscenes and stuff like that. There's a few that still stay, but one of them is a little animation that plays when Hat Kid like collects yarn, collectibles, and stuff like that. Like you just walk right into him and grab him. We'll see if either of them do it. Look on Fuff's screen if he does. But on this 4th yarn here, yeah, he's going for it. So he turns off auto skip cutscenes. It plays that. Then he abuses that little cutscene. You can make this weird property with it where you have a pause screen stuck there. So then you can move around while it's up in your face. And if you can manage to see... Oh, he puts up the input menu because it doesn't cover up much of your screen. That's pretty smart. That way you can actually see where you're going. But yeah, that's the only annoying part of it. And then after that, the good part about this is that if you complete the level with that there, then you have access to the exit to hub button, which allows you to skip the cutscene that plays whenever a timepiece is collected. So both of them have this going right now. It can be pretty tricky. Both of them are going for it. It saves like 4 seconds, so it's definitely worth.
I've never actually seen this done in a run before. Wasn't it just like found today?
It was found a couple days ago. So yeah, he just gets out of there. That saves like... Well, it skips like 6.5 seconds worth of cutscenes. But it takes a couple seconds to set up, so it saves like 4 overall. Yeah, it was like 2 days ago.
So right here, we're going to a level known as Barrel Battle. It's mostly an auto-scroller, as will be seen really soon.
Yeah, the yarn that he picked up in the previous level that he used to make that little pause bug there. It made the brewer hat, which is the projectile. It's used a couple instances throughout the game, not too many times. Generally when there's fights and stuff like that.
See if girl can handle this barrel. Do not think about avoiding barrels.
Right here, Fuff is just standing still, because the barrels always go in the same position, so if you just stay in a position, the barrels can't touch you. And this just goes on for a set amount of time.
Stand still.
Okay, so right here, another useful thing with it on Fuff's end is that fight starts with the final guy. He runs down the barrels, and normally you'd have to wait a minute for him to reach you for the fight to like initiate, I guess, but because you have a projectile, whenever you hit him with it, he just falls all the way down. So that's a little skip they can do right there with it. Overall, by having the brewer hat, makes the fights in that level like 5 or 6 seconds faster, I think. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since we haven't done that level with brewing hat. It's pretty fast. Yeah, sometimes he can get stuck like that on Polsaar's end. He threw the potion at him to try to knock him down to the bottom. And sometimes he'll just get stuck in the air and like bounce on your head. It can be annoying.
Mafia take not kindly to intruders.
So this level is made pretty quick. Getting up to the bucket is easy with that lamp right there. And the, like, main actual thing other than the boss that's done in this level is completely skipped right here in the throne room. There's a cutscene trigger that plays of, like, you looking at the boss, the guy that you're about to fight, and a little, like, fight with 2 Mafia guys. And the triggers are both, like, vertical walls that he's jumping over right now. So if you can clear those, then you just go straight to the boss. Even though it takes a moment to set up by getting to the top of the room, it still saves a decent amount of time just because it's so long. And Polsaar will probably be going for the same thing.
This fight actually has some RNG to it. The boss, he has these attacks where he drops sandbags, and after every attack except the sandbag attack, you're able to attack him. So if you get a sandbag attack, you're not able to attack him. And he can do a maximum of 2 per phase.
Which, since we skipped the final phase, this is the second phase that he's in right now. Like you said, you can get up to 2 sandbags per phase, so since we skipped the final phase... Oh, Polsaar hit the cutscene trigger. Fortunate. He bonked off. Yeah, and he's gonna go for the fight, so you can kind of see what he skips right there. So right here, this is the final phase, the longest and most tedious one, but it's skipped by this little glitch right here. This is a quick kill for him. You stand in the corner while charging your brewer hat. It's kind of hard to see because he's standing behind a bush. But basically, whenever the Mafia boss tries to start an attack while you're really close to him, he'll knock you away, like he'll swipe you away. And the same thing happens if you're standing behind him, just because it wants you to be away from him whenever his attacks begin. So if you get in the corner, he will swipe you and you will land, like, in his place. And then when he tries to do his attack, you'll still be there, and he'll just fall out of the level. Which I'm assuming that's what the game is trying to avoid by knocking you away in the first place, so that's what we're abusing.
Right here in this level is where the first bit of route variation can change. You can either do a rift known as sewers first, where you can do this level known as golden vault, which Fuff is doing golden vault first. Right here is a glitch where you take damage to dupe a ticket, and you can do it once or twice in the level. Fuff is doing it twice because he managed to take fall damage right beside the first ticket, and then he took fire damage right there to get the second ticket, which ends up giving you 4, which is enough as you need to open up the vault.
Yeah, there are 2 collectibles in this game. It only works on 2 of them. The tickets that are only in Mafia Town, and the rift tokens that you can collect to get plays in the slot machine. And those, if you grab them while you have active iframes, invincibility frames, then you will grab 2 of them. Both of these players play on Xbox One controller, but there are a lot of popular controllers for this game. It varies widely. A lot of people use DualShock 4 controllers as well. And not many people use keyboard, but the second fastest runner uses keyboard. He has a really solid time with keyboard. So there's so many controllers that are viable for this game. This is a time rift, and it's generally about just movement, because there's not really any gimmicks or like story to them or anything. And right there, he bonked near the beginning, so he missed his cycle. He's just gonna have to wait for this next one, but he should be fine. Oh yeah, and GameCube controller. Yeah, because so many of them, the design is like rotating and spinning platforms and like moving platforms, like the one at the start that went in and out of the wall. Generally, those are gonna, like, if they're part of the level, you're gonna need them to do jumps, then you're gonna need like the best cycle for each of them, so most of these runners' movements for the time rifts will be pretty similar and pretty optimized. And generally requires a minimal amount of mistakes. There's different amounts of leniency on the different time rifts in the game. Some of them you have a lot of leniency to make cycles, and some of them are really hard and can be run killers. So right here, Fuff already took a damage in the lava. He fell in again. He's doing it for a reason. The faucets that you have to turn off in this level are scattered really far around everywhere. And after he hits that one, backtracking from there would take way longer than just dying, because the checkpoint for this level is always going to be at the spawn point. And so you can use that to essentially warp yourself, and it is a lot faster. There's one other type of warping other than death warping that's done at the very end. I'll explain that as we get to it. He's gonna use the lava again. This time it's gonna let him boost over to the lighthouse and conveniently knock him to 1 health. That way he can have another death.
Right here, Polsaar got some of the RNG in the run. You can get from these time rifts, you can get these things known as remixes. On your first remix, you have a intruder alert cutscene come on, which will come on any second now. And that loses 3 seconds.
Okay, so right there, you saw he got himself stuck in the faucet, hit it, and then jumped into the lava under the faucet and held still. What this does is bouncing in place in lava and getting stuck on like a wall that's right above you is one of the ways to that makes the game think you're soft locked, essentially. Like whenever you get stuck in this game, the game will try to help you by placing you back in your last known safe position so that you can continue as normal. It happens a lot of times in weird areas like casually, but it's abused in a couple levels in the run to warp yourself. Basically, the way it works is, since it warps you to your last known safe position, if you just know what all objects are considered safe spots and what aren't, like for example, jumping on like a tightrope is not a safe spot, so you can use that, and then it won't warp you back to there. So like what he did is he went from the spawn straight down to the faucet, clipped inside of it as so to not stand on top of it and set a safe position there. And then whenever he got soft locked, his last known safe position was at the start of the level. So he warped back to the beginning. There's another level that abuses this multiple times, but it's not in the any percent run. The time rift Fuff just did is one of the a little bit less, more lenient time rifts that you can do. Getting optimal cycle for it, like, isn't that much different than just like jumping around the moving block at the end.
Something that might be an interesting note is when you complete the level that Polsaar just did, you go take a cannon up to the area that like, and then you get the timepiece there. If you're playing on the console version of the game, the person you talk to at the very start of the level just gives you the timepiece, so it saves a tiny bit of time.
So right now, Fuff is doing a little bit of backtracking. This is for a large cutscene skip. He's getting really high elevated. It's kind of similar to the cutscene skip that we did earlier in Down at the Mafia level, whereas he's jumping over a cutscene trigger that is a big vertical wall. He's using the trees to get that height and be able to jump over it. The main hard part of it being actually making that jump to the tree over at the end. You have to do a really tricky jump. Basically, obviously to go far when you're jumping. In this game you need momentum, and it takes a decent bit of walking or sprinting on the ground to build up that momentum. And if you're standing still on a tree branch, you don't have any room to run around, so you do it's basically a momentum STJ, or a momentum jump. And you jump onto the branch with momentum from a sprint jump, and then immediately jump off of it, so you kind of just bounce, or just like immediately jump off of that branch without stopping. So you have to be able to land right on it, and then get the height all the way to the end, and that allows you to jump over the trigger. It's one of the harder tricks in the run, but it makes this level really quick. So the routing for Subcon is pretty interesting. All of the acts that are in this level are done through tasks that Snatcher gives to you, and he gives you contracts for those, like signing that you have to do them. And there are a couple levels that you don't need the contracts to complete. The one he's going to right now, the Subcon well, there is a contract for it, but you don't need it, because if you jump in the well, it'll load you into the level anyway. Like the loading trigger for the level is available through any act. So that's what he's going to go do right now. If you remember from earlier when he threw in the red paintings and it played a cutscene of the wall going down, it didn't play at that time, and that's because he zoomed in his camera so that it wouldn't play. He zoomed out his camera right there at the very end as he went to the well. You could saw a little glitchy there as the cutscene ended. Basically what he did is he got away from the cutscene trigger so that it wouldn't play, and then zoomed out his camera at the end so that he could have it play as he was falling down the well, which is just stacking two cutscenes on top of each other so that it doesn't lose any time. And that saves like 3 seconds, because the cutscene is only like 3 seconds long. And now he has the hook shot. You're going to see that used in just a moment. It basically teaches you how to use it immediately after it gives it to you. But this level's pretty busted. You don't have to actually do that much of it. There's a ton of puzzles, but the hook shot is really good and really fast. So you can kind of just jump to the end. You only need to jump off of 3 hook shots. Pretty quick.
What Polsaar is doing here is you can see he's getting his health down to 1. At the very end of this level, you can use a cherry to die as you grab the timepiece. And while doing that, it warps you to the very start of the level, which is also near the entrance of the second level of this chapter. So it saves you having to go back to hub.
Yeah, Fuff did that as well. You'll see it again done here. Basically, he'll just set it next to the timepiece, then grab it. Then while the animation is playing, it just kills him. You can see it still collects, so it doesn't make him miss it or anything. He still has it, but it spawns him right back here, and he can just continue the next level. Fuff did that as well. It's pretty useful. Because the setup takes so long, however, it only saves like 5 seconds.
In this level Fuff's going into right now, your goal is to give mail to 10 people. So you just give mail to people, but there is one trick in this level that'll be right here. If you align yourself correctly and then throw a mail at someone who's really high up in the trees, there's another person that the mail goes through them, and the mail actually ends up hitting someone else, which gives you 2 mail for 1. And then Fuff is also grabbing a contract here, which is it gives him access to another level. It's one of the levels that you need a contract to enter.
So right here, he's doing the same thing that he did in She Came from Outer Space, where he gets a pause screen stuck there. he used that once again just to exit out of the level earlier. It's easier to set up there because whenever you complete a contract, every time it the game knows you've completed the level with the contract, then it opens up your pause screen, it forces it there, and then it shows you oh look, you completed this thing. Polsaar just took a heavy fall. Oh my gosh, can he? Yeah, he's doing the backup. So that's another warp like the one we were talking about earlier. You'll see him do it again probably. This warp is useful as a backup because whenever he falls down in the water, obviously that's not a safe place that it wants to put you back in. So whenever he warps, it puts him back up here. So yeah, he's just soft walking himself on that just so they can get back up more quickly.
What Fuff just did right there is, when you seen there's a toilet, it went underground, and then Fuff went into his menu and changed some settings. What that did is, while the toilet went underground, if you caused lag while it's underground, it just makes it fall to a death barrier and it will die, making the level end immediately. Which actually shaves a lot of time off of that boss fight.
There are multiple ways to knock the toilet through the floor of the level, but that one is faster than the second fastest one by like a minute and 10 seconds or something around there. Now, around a minute. So it's a big time save compared to the old way.
Right now, Fuff is going through some parkouring. What you'd usually have to do is take a cherry and then throw it at the ice walls, but what Fuff is able to do is just jump over all the walls. It just negates what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, due to the useful speed tech possible made by the sprint hat, there's a lot of unintended jumps that you can make there. The sprint hat makes a lot of stuff like that, and the strats that we do in Time Rift possible, rather the movement exploits associated with it.
Being up here is going to be a developer implemented skip where Fuff just kind of crawled into a little spot in the wall. It's more of an Easter egg, and it just puts you at the very end of the level. And also what Fuff did is there's 2 invisible doors in the room that he's in right now, and you're able to jump on top of the door, and you can jump over a cutscene that would usually play when you entered the room.
Yeah, there's a trend in this game with cutscene barriers not going high enough, and they get abused by us. The runners are playing on the version 1.0 patch of the game. For these runs, it's not required. The current patch of the game, even though it has a bunch of stuff patched out, like those cutscene barriers for example, some of the cutscene barriers were raised up higher so that we can't go over them, and that gets rid of skips like bag skip, that the jump in the trees that they did at the start of Subcon. But there's a feature in the current patch of the game that allows you to speed up cutscenes that play when you're in the telescope or the level select screen. And so it makes the current patch and version 1.0 about the same speed. So either are viable for runs. But these are both runners that have been playing for a long time and have been very used to version 1.0, because for the longest time that was the only viable way of doing runs. So yeah, Polsaar's going for it now as well. We pick that graphic setting to change in particular just because it gives us a really minimal amount of lag, but the lag is still there. Basically, oh, Fuff just messed up a bell jump. He's gonna have to go back and do it again. It loses a couple seconds. He's trying to do a little puzzle skip right here. Yeah. You can skip going around and doing all that stuff just because you have enough speed to make it straight to the timepiece. But yeah, about obviously the toilet. You need the lag for him to get killed, but we picked that one in particular because it gives the least amount of lag. It's consistently the fastest. Because whenever the game is lagging out when you're doing that trick, it does count towards your timer. So it can very slightly vary based on performance, but it's usually like a negatable amount. And it's easily like improvable just by changing graphic settings and stuff like that to make FPS better. So this is one of the examples of time rifts that have pretty lenient cycles. He's going for really crazy movement, so he's going to easily beat this cycle. You can see how far ahead he makes it. All he needs is for that last gear that he just dove off of to be raised up, and he got to it as it was still going up, rather than like going back down. So that one is pretty simple to make if you can get basic movement down for it. That's a pretty solid time for the Rift. Yeah, no, the time Rift levels, a bunch of content in this game was inspired by 3D Mario's in particular. The time rifts, especially with the like level design, with like the spinning blocks with the pegs sticking out of them and everything. That's definitely reminiscent of the secrets. Also, the level in Mafia Town where they turned off the faucets heating up Mafia Town was inspired by the burning Pianta Village level from Sunshine. That's where they like got the idea for it, I guess. So right now, Fuff is basically destroying this boss, and it's glitching out a bunch of potions that back in the corner. Basically, he's doing a bunch of phase skips. This boss is supposed to not be hittable at this point, and that's the reason he's using so many different phase attacks at once. But his hitbox barely sticks out at certain points of the arena, and so you can get right up close to him in certain specific spots. Hold in a certain angle, and you can just whack at him over and over. You have to, for the final hit, you have to get that potion and cover him in blue, and then you can hit him. The way the fight is supposed to work casually is you can only hit him when he lights up blue, because that's the way bosses in the game work. So he's supposed to be invincible, and the game just makes his hitbox not hittable to make that happen, but you can still reach in there and get him.
Also, as a side note, if your resolution is lower, the hitbox becomes bigger.
Yeah, so it's not required, but it makes the level a lot easier if you're at a lower resolution. Like at certain resolutions, it can be really difficult to hit him, and sometimes you'll have to do like an extra swing that reaches a little bit farther to be able to hit him at all. But like if you play on lower resolutions, if you have a good angle, you can just swipe at him over and over and over, and you can even buffer the hits too, and just like get frame perfect hits over and over, and it's really, really fast. So now he's exiting Subcon. He's crafting a relic real quick, which creates a purple time rift, which is something that he's going to be going back and doing near the end of the run.
When creating a rift, there's actually a bit of RNG where your relic order is randomized. So in any percent, you have 2 different relics that you can. They come in any order, so there's like a 50% chance that you'll lose like half a second just from the order of your relics.
Yeah, no, if you get, it's just the bottom bun of the burger and the top bun of the burger. It's like burger RNG in itself is a meme just because it's so minimal. Like, if you get the top bun first, because you have to put them on in a certain order, then you have to do like 0.2 of extra menuing. It's really silly, but it exists.
Right there, what Fuff did is they jumped off the map, but they got far enough where they hit a checkpoint, so they just ended up death warping.
Yeah, in this level, there's a lot of places. It works a little bit differently. In this level, there's a lot of places you can fall, and it has to like fall into the void, and it has to respawn you back. And rather than storing like specific checkpoints, there's certain spots that you can fall in the level that'll send you back to different places. So if there's like multiple places throughout the level that you can do it, where you can just jump into the void in a certain spot and it'll respawn you back in later on than you were. Polsaar's doing the Snatcher fight now as well. You can see he's just buffering all of those hits. So that's as fast as it gets. And then he skipped all of the phases that he could, and now he just has to wait until he gives him a potion. That was pretty good as well. So the level Fuff is in, this is Murder on the Express. A lot of the exploring in this level can be skipped, but there is one main requirement you have to hit first before you can complete the level, which is starting the evidence search sequence, where you have to get the detective hat and discover the murder, which is right here. That's the dead body, or fake dead body.
If you don't do this, there's an invisible wall, or an invisible ceiling that makes it so you can't proceed on in the level.
Yeah, you have to do this to be able to unlock the rooms that you need to get to complete it. So you just get that to get rid of an invisible barrier, and then you can get to the top floor earlier on by jumping on this door or on the cabinet or the bookshelf. And then you just make it all the way up to that button. There's an invisible wall blocking that button if you hadn't activated that, but it just goes away right after. So
right there, Fuff got teleported back because there's a cutscene that you'd usually play there. But since we did a sequence break, the cutscene just doesn't play, so it teleports you back to where you would be after the cutscene played.
Yeah, the cutscene has the player known to be in a certain spot near the door of the room. So whenever the cutscene ends, that's where Hat Kid is supposed to be. So because the cutscene just doesn't play, you can move around, but whenever the duration of the cutscene finishes, that's where it puts you. So the door that you need to go in after that, with the key in it, if you have near perfect movement, you can make it into that door before it teleports you back. But it's extremely difficult. It's like one of the hardest things in the game to do consistently. There's very few people that can do it consistently, just because it's so precise. If you spend like any extra time running around getting to it, then you're not going to be able to make it. But because the cutscene isn't super long, it's not a detrimental time loss to miss it anyway, so it's not a huge deal. It's like 3 seconds or maybe a little more. Polsaar putting on the shades right now. Having trouble getting up the poster. Blows it up. Right, he's mad. He wants to destroy things now.
Man, Polsaar, you know, other people might want some double sunglasses. This level that Fuff's in, your goal is to become the biggest Twitch streamer out there. So you go around talking to people and get pictures taken, and there's also endorsements of DJ Grooves. And usually what you used to do is doing the level in reverse order right now, but since we grabbed an endorsement earlier in the patch of 1.0, you usually have to grab an endorsement to knock down that dog picture, but since we're playing on 1.0, you can just knock down the dog picture after grabbing one endorsement.
Yeah, there is a trick with that dog that was patched out a little bit after, where you can hit that dog and complete the endorsement associated with it, even if you never started it. There was another endorsement he did near the start where it played a little cutscene with him talking to two penguins and DJ Groove. That's how you're supposed to begin all of the endorsements. But whenever you start any endorsement, or maybe just that one, but I'm pretty sure it's any, the dog shows up there anyway. And he just stays there. So you don't have to actually go to that specific endorsement to get him to start. So yeah, we save that dog for last, just so you don't have to watch the cutscene associated with it.
I don't think we explained this earlier, but when you jump onto a balloon or like even sandbags, they have a property where it stores your momentum after you've jumped onto it. So you can dive boost into them, it'll give you dive boost momentum in the air.
Well, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. It essentially just adds height to you, and gives you your jump back. So if you, like, dive boost into a balloon, you can, like... Because dive boosting off the floor is, like, one of the main fastest ways of getting speed with Hack Kid. Generally, when there is room to do a dive boost, they will be doing one. And so if you, like, dive boost into a sandbag or something, you can keep that speed through the air. And then, like, for example, you can even do a double jump with that speed, and you can just go flying. Pretty good. So right now, Fuff is entering back through AliExpress once again. There is a time rift that was just unlocked, that's located right there. The times that you get on this level are pretty associated with which cycle you make. Most of the moving platforms in this level make it similar to an auto-scroller. So basically, like, even if he messes up movement, or does it really fast, as long as he makes the same first cycle, he's generally going to get the same time. It's like, even though he got like an extra ledge grab there, he's still going to make the same time as if he got perfect movement, just because you have to hit all of those buttons to make anything progress. And then you just have to get to that big spinning cog right there as soon as you can. So he's on first cycle. So that's basically the best time that you can get for the level. Obviously, you can optimize this ending movement a little bit, but not too much. So generally, whenever you get that first cycle, you're going to get a time of around a minute. The estimate for this run will be around 45 to 50 minutes total. Sub 50 minutes easily on in-game timer, but this is, if we're talking about real time, it'll probably be around 20 to 25 more minutes. Yeah, like 20 minutes. 20 to 25 minutes left. You'll probably be getting 45 to 50 on the in-game timer, which, depending on their loads, can go a little bit above that. But generally, if you're just asking for ballpark, that's generally what it's going to be. So yeah, they're like a decent chunk through the run already. They've gotten through most of it. There's not a ridiculous amount of stuff going on in Fuff's level, just really optimized movement. Players go for like a lot of different strats in this level, just depending on how comfortable you are with them. This level is just strictly movement. This is one of the like hardest levels to get optimal like times on for IL times, just because it can be pushed so far. but Fuff's was really solid. So you made the ice hat there as the timepiece was spawning. Once again, just doing what we were talking about earlier with stacking the cutscenes. The ice hat is only needed for one instance in the run, and it's to get into a time rift called Mailroom.
There actually is a way to get inside of Mailroom without the ice hat, but it's really inconsistent.
Yeah, there is a frame perfect out of bounds clip that you can do in the spaceship hub, and you can use that to get to the mailroom without the ice hat. But not only is it obviously way more inconsistent because it's frame perfect, and there's not like too many great cues for hitting it. Even if you get it first try and do the movement correctly, it's around a second slower than just collecting the yarn for the ice hat. So this is the Purple Rift. It is a time rift as well, but it's completely different than all the other ones you've seen. This is the one that he unlocked by making the relic. You enter through the following screens by collecting a certain amount of rift pawns, which are these little crown pawns that he's grabbing. And the routing is just getting the minimum amount needed to open the final door, which generally you'll need to grab most of them. Trying to do a little skip here, skip going over the tie rope. You can just jump straight to the next ledge right there. But yeah, they have little numbers above the pipes with how many you need to get. It only needs a couple more. And then the timepiece is located in this time rift orb that you can just break with the brewing hat.
If you don't use the brewing hat, it takes more hits to open up. But on version 1.0, with the brewing hat, it just cracks open in 2 hits.
So this is cheating the race. This is the first of 2 instances where we're like, I guess doing it like warns you that you're doing like something unintended. It's like it gives them a little warning, like, are you sure you want to do this? You are missing a key item. Which normally to be able to win this race, you are supposed to get a hat that stops time, or significantly slows down time rather. It doesn't completely stop it, but you can use it to just slow down that mafia guy significantly, just to walk straight to the end. But really optimal movement can just, you can just destroy him anyway. There are multiple different ways that you can go and still win that race. You can go the normal way, the intended route that Fuff walked through. Or there's a cannon on the back end of the island that shoots you to the other side, and you can also use that to win the race. Did Polsaar quit? I believe he
Polsaar's
exited desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may have forfeited. He was having a lot of trouble. That was a really, really good mailroom from Fuff. That was like really clean movement, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a really fast cycle from him.
Here we go!
So yeah, that's the little sequence that plays whenever you get 25 timepieces, and that unlocks Finale, so that's what he's going to do now. That's basically the prerequisite for completing any percent, is getting 25 timepieces as fast as possible. and then doing finale. And you can skip that puzzle by jumping over the gate. You actually need to skip that puzzle because that's a little check to make sure that you've like made all the hats. You're supposed to have the brewing hat, the dweller hat, and ice hat at this point, but obviously you don't have the dweller hat, which you need it to complete that puzzle and take the gate down. And also it gave that warning again that he's missing a key item. There's a wall that you can only get rid of if you have the dweller hat. So the way that we get around that is by going out of bounds. And this is a 1.0 version specific glitch, once again. Well, it's not too much of a glitch. There's actually just a hole in the wall like right there. You can just go right through it. And then, conveniently there's these two weird walls right here that are really close to each other, just enough room for you to climb in between. Then you just get on top of the roof. Oh no, he messed up the fast get up. Okay, so basically the optimal way of going about finale skip is it's a big arch, and the fastest way to do it is by sliding on the really steep angled parts of the arch, because if you go more to the top, then you can walk on it without Hatkid slipping and falling, but Hatkid will slip and fall if she stands on a slope too steep. But as you can see, she can slide on them basically infinitely, and there's like no dust or anything. She just glides over it. So it's basically two regions, the safe portions and the not safe portions. So when you're down here, it's pretty dangerous, because if you get like knocked out of your slide or anything like that, you're going to fall down and lose a lot of time like he did. And staying down here can be difficult, because if you want to do it optimally and slide the whole way through, you have to go through some invisible walls. You just dodge through one there. You can't really see them, but there's another one right here. You can just hold left and it'll usually take you through them. Because they're so small, you can just tap for a little bit, and as long as you have your timing right, it's fine. And then he did another little jump over at the end there. There's a little hole, like a gap in the roof. And if you just go straight forward, you'll fall in it, so you need to bop yourself up in the air for a little bit. And then this is the other thing. Once you're done with that, you have to get yourself back up, standing on the safe spot. So right now, he's on a more shallow angle, so he can walk on it.
And to get back inbounds here, there's a cutscene trigger that just kind of teleports you back inbounds.
Yeah, there's a cutscene trigger for starting the Mustache Girl encounter, and it sticks a little bit out to the side of that room, so fortunately that makes that skip possible. It lets you back in.
Very clean first phase there. In this fight, Fuff will be abusing the brewing hat, as you can see right there. Usually when Mustache Girl is flying in the air, you won't be able to attack her, but you can actually throw potions at her to damage her while she's in the air.
Yeah, the projectiles are really useful in this fight here, because you can skip a lot of attacks. Like, for example, this one, you're only supposed to be able to hit her with the Mafia Ball, as she teleports away when you get close to her. But, because you're not normally able to hit her out of the air, if you do it with the brewing hat, then it just skips that whole thing. And you don't have to wait for the Mafia Ball to come back each time. This is the shield phase, or the cherry phase. And this phase can be dumb because sometimes she shields herself like that. That's the gimmick of this phase. Like that, she's doing it again. Each time you get this, an extra time, it's losing time. Because sometimes she'll do attacks where she just attacks normally. Like that. So he just got 2 in a row where she did normal attacks. But that's a third one. If he gets 3 shields, that's about average RNG. And that's fine. But you can get 4 or 5. And that starts to get into the really bad time loss. You can also get 1 or 2, which are more rare. 1 is especially rare. It's like a 1 in like 1,000 chance, something like that.
So
Yeah,
here's the-
three is like acceptable RNG. It's average. You can't be mad if you get 3.
Here's the final phase of the fight. There's really no gimmick to it except you have infinite health. So you just deal 8 damage and you're out when the run's done. Except it is very easy to get staggered in this phase.
Yeah, there's a lot more projectiles flying around that can knock you down on the floor, like the falling timepieces. And also, she can do her attacks a lot faster. Like her shockwave attack, she just goes flying around the arena. It can be really hard to hit her. There's another one right there. It can be hard to chase her, but you can manipulate her movement on that. So Fuff was able to take it out pretty quickly. And that's a 44.
Yeah, 44.
Beating the 45-minute prediction that I made. 44 is a really good. Stomping on Mustache Girl right before he finishes.
And that's the end of the run.
So that is a win for Fuff. Any force exit in the run is considered a forfeit, so that means it is done for him. Oh yeah, Fuff, what he's doing right here. Whenever this cutscene starts, it starts with like a flash of like white light, and right after this happens, it loads Hat Kid for that cutscene to play. And normally it puts her back into the default outfit, but if you change it while it's loading in that little white spot right there, then you can put whatever cosmetics you want on to play in this cutscene.
We'll see what very important decision Fuff will make.
Probably kill. He probably won't help Mustache Girl if he picks one. There's another way to change your cosmetics in the cutscene. Yeah, he didn't help her. There's another way to change your cosmetics in the cutscene. If you select yes to help Mustache Girl, that also reloads Hat Kid. So if you change your cosmetics and then you select yes, then it'll change your outfit there as well. There's multiple ways to do it, and it can make it look a lot cooler. But that was a pretty solid race. There aren't really any major mistakes that I can point out from Fuff. His world record is 43:32, which is a little bit faster than that, but like not anything super major. He did fall in finale one time. I guess that's the main thing.
Oh, okay.
Getting a game crash in tourney has been a hard thing to make ruling for, but fortunately it hasn't happened at all. Yo, Fuff's Hat Kid dancing right now. But yeah, I don't know if either of them want to interview, but it's pretty late. I think that's all we have for this race. So this tournament is going a bit more slowly because it's reaching its very ending phases, so there's not as much going on, but all of the remaining races are very good if you can manage to catch one. So I'll go ahead and look at those real quick. So next one will be we are waiting on username. Does this username versus Dream or none? So that's the next match that's going to be happening. That's a winner semis match. So Whichever of them loses, that will be continuing in losers bracket. But that will also be an exciting race. Both of those runners are all really good. Basically, everyone remaining in the tournament is really skilled, so you're going to be getting good stuff no matter what you watch at this point. So yeah, there's the tournament schedule in the chat. That's everything you need right there if you want to catch it. But yeah, that's all we have for this time. So thanks for watching, everyone. But see you later. I'm Flarebear.
And I'm Silver.
See you guys later.
So yeah. Have a good night, everyone.